Hey YouTubers, today I'm gonna make a folding knife, a slip joint knife. It's about 10 centimeters grip length and blade length is about 8 centimeters. And the only thing we need are 3 parts: handle scales and 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts and 4 screws. For mounting the handle scales I'm gonna use these 2 screws, and for holding the blade I'm going to use these 2 beauties. The handle scales I make out of titanium covered with beautiful wood, and the spring for the slip joint itself I'm going to make out of Damasteel too. So let's get started. For the spring I'm going to take a piece which I cut off earlier and have left over. 3.2 millimeters thick. For the blade I'm going to use 2.8 millimeter Damasteel stripes, the same as for the spring. And for the handle scales we're going to use titanium grade 2, which I'm going to cut out this for 2 times. Then cut out the blade, cut out the spring, and then refine it on the belt sander. Okay, now that the parts are cut out, we're gonna go to the belt sander, refine the form, and then we're gonna drill the holes, and ready to go on. Okay, now after a bit of refining, the parts start to look like for a folding knife, and I decided to use a stabilized giraffe bone handle scale, which I'm gonna rivet on here and here with these holes. 4 millimeter hole and a 3 millimeter hole for a rivet which goes through. I use titanium rivets everywhere on this knife. I'm gonna mount it all together and see what the parts look like in assembled form. Just a bit to have a rough look on the knife. It actually starts to work. Put it here. See the blade. As you see, the blade snaps open, so this one works pretty fine. Now, and closing mechanism. I'm going to fit a pin right here to get the blade secure, to not touch the spring here, so it won't get dull. I need to shorten the blade a little bit, as you see, and I need to cut out here a bit more. And I have to bend the spring downwards a little bit. So okay, now as you can see, I bent the spring a bit more, so the bolt won't fit right now because it's under pressure if I'm pushing it in, but it's not hardened, so it will bend back. And what I do now is I take out the front pin and see what it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna with my thumb attach pressure here like the spring would do, and it snaps up open and it snaps closed. Now I have a space here for a small bolt to fit in. Take a 3 millimeter bolt, so I'm gonna mark here inside. Now be very careful to drill the hole. Better to drill it more this way than to drill it in the other way, because when you drill it the other side you have a big problem. The blade will close up too much. Now I exact line where the bolt should hit. Okay, now try to drill a hole. Fits perfectly with the edge to this edge. Now that I got the bolt hole fitted in here, I'm gonna check out how it fits. Look how good it is. Put in a bolt, 3mm exactly. Also titanium. And oh, come on, look at it, it's perfect. Because you know why it's perfect? You think it's not perfect now, but it is perfect, because now I have enough space to work here to polish up these surfaces perfectly and then fit the knife together. Oh, you see what I found out? The bolt actually have contact here to this corner, so I need to round that out. Now what I do, I stamp the blade edge. Oh, you see that? Perfect. Perfect when it's closed, it needs to be absolutely perfect. And also when it's open, it's absolutely nice. But we're gonna go back a bit more here. And now I'm gonna grind the bevels and make a center line here, so the cutting edge is perfectly in the middle of the blade. And paint on how I want the bevel, the ricasso, come up here. I guess I'm taking it about this way and all up here. After this I'm gonna stamp in my logo, and then I can mount the handle scales to the titanium pieces and start rounding out the spring here, because this part I want to make rounded and the rest I let it flat, just for optical reasons. It looks better when the spring here is rounded. Okay, what I got here is my height measurement tool, or my height scratching device. So when I put it down to the mirror, it's perfectly zero. And now clean the surface, put in the blade, and until it stretches the surface. Now I have about 2.4 millimeters blade thickness. Now I'm going to take 1.2, half of it, and make my guideline. And then I turn around the blade, make it from the other side. Then from the one side. Now, the perfect middle line. I exactly know where to grind the bevels. Okay, now the handle scales are glued together with epoxy resin, epoxy glue to a component, and with these two rivets. Now I'm gonna clean out these two big holes. The other two holes stay like they are, they just get cleaned out, and they're gonna fit the bolts inside. One bolt for the spring and one bolt for the blade. And now I'm gonna roughly cut and grind around and clean up the handle scales, cut up the rivets, and yeah, and we go on. Okay, now the parts are polished up, and I added the small filework at the blade here and at the spring and the back side. And now the parts are ready for heat treatment. I'm gonna let it treat by a friend. He has a special electric oven which gets flooded with inert gas. That means non-reactive to oxygen. So there is no oxygen on the blade when it's glowing red hot at 1070 degrees Celsius. And then the parts got air cooled. Maybe I am able to catch it on video how this blade gets hardened. And yeah, we go on after hardening with part 2 of this video.